Hey, welcome back to Hannity. Father Michael Pfleger, he's back, and this time the controversial Chicago priest and far-left zealot wants you to know that the NRA has blood on its hands. Watch this.
I'm just tired of the NRA. Tired of them prostituting themselves and buying politicians in this country. At the end of the day, you can argue us, you can call us names, but you got to deal with God. And the blood of our children is on your hands, and you will pay for the murder of our children.
Now, we invited Father Pfleger onto this program to explain those remarks, but he declined to come on. Joining us now with reaction is the president of the Brady campaign to prevent gun violence. Dan Gross is with us. How are you?
Good, Sean. How are you?
You and I actually have a friendship off air, and we talk a lot about this subject. And I feel you've experienced gun violence in your own family.
Yep.
Which is personal to you with your brother, right?
Yep.
I've explained to you my position, which is I want anybody that owns a gun to be really safe about it.
Yep.
People ask me on my radio show, "Oh, Hannity, I know you have carried a gun your whole life. What do you recommend I get?" And I said, get trained in the use of any gun you want.
Yep.
Where do we disagree?
You know, I think it's more important to focus on where we agree, because I think there's a lot of overlap on our points of view, and I enjoy having those conversations with you because there really is common ground, and common ground where we can achieve our common goal of making this a safer country. I think being trained in firearms, if you're going to own them, is important. Appreciating the risk to your family. I know you store with your beautiful family your firearms safely, and we completely agree on that. And I think the other area that we agree on is just keeping guns out of dangerous hands. Nobody, at least involved with my organization, wants to take guns away or wants to prevent a law-abiding citizen from buying a gun. We just want to keep guns out of the hands of criminals, of dangerous people.
But we have those laws, though.
Yeah,
right?
Well, we don't have them everywhere. So if you go into a federally licensed firearm dealer, you're required to get a Brady background check. The problem is you're not at gun shows and you're not online. And every day, thousands of guns are sold to Lord knows who. And I think we all want to agree that a convicted felon, a domestic abuser, a rapist shouldn't be able to go into one of those venues and buy a gun.
We keep hearing, everybody watching the show knows the name Trayvon Martin. Everybody knows the name Michael Brown. Everybody knows the name Freddie Gray. And I'm not trying to set you up with a question here. I bet you can't name 5 kids who were killed in Chicago in the last year. Right? You know what I mean? We don't follow these names. We have an epidemic of black-on-black crime, and this is where it becomes political for me. Because the president will speak out about Cambridge police, Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Freddie Gray, but he never talks about Chicago. I have some numbers. The percentage of black people killed by other black people. Look at this, 90.1%. The number and percentage of white people killed by other white people, it's 83%. The number of Chicago homicides in 2015, 161 this year alone. The number of Chicago shootings, 820 this year alone. And to me, none of those people care about your laws. They're not going to obey your laws. And it's the law-abiding person that I'm worried about that has to deal with that violence.
Yeah, see, so the part where we might disagree is that there isn't an opportunity to do something about it to keep those guns off the street that's creating that violence. I actually can name a number of those kids because I was just with a number of the parents this weekend protesting what we call a bad apple gun dealer. Do you know 5% of gun dealers in our country are responsible for selling 90% of the crime guns? They know exactly what they're doing. There's one guy in Chicago, Chuck's Gun Shop and Pistol Range, right over the border. That 1,500.
Is he obeying the law?
No.
Okay, then I would support you.
Right,
that's
and
wrong.
so that's the opportunity. So this guy alone has sold 1,500 guns that have been recovered in crime. So this isn't about keeping guns away from law-abiding citizens. This is about preventing guns from getting into the hands of criminals and getting onto the streets of Chicago.
I never asked you this question in all the time I've known you. Do you have a gun?
I don't, but I fired guns a number of times. I'm trained in gun safety.
I know and love your family. You're good people. What, God forbid, would you do if somebody breaks into your house?
Well, the odds, what I know is the odds of a gun in my home
I'm not
being
talking about
used,
odds. What will you, Dan Gross, do if somebody breaks into your home?
No, but to me it is a calculation of the risks. And I choose not to have a gun. If I did choose to own a gun, and that's something that I would be open to and I would consider. I know I would keep it locked in a gun safe separate with the ammunition locked separately, and I probably wouldn't worry terribly about my family. So I just, I don't think it's very likely that somebody's going to break into my house. I think it's much more likely that a child would be used in an unintentional shooting.
I understand your concern, and I would urge anybody to. I have a fingerprint safe, for example.
No, I know. We've talked about it. Yeah.
And I have gun locks, and I love it. I could bring you to my house, tell you where my guns are, and you can't get them.
Perfect.
You can spend days unless you have some type of bomb.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to blow it open. But the reality is, if somebody does, God forbid, break in, you don't have many options.
Right.
And that's why I believe law-abiding, responsible gun owners, I'm worried about their freedoms being chipped away out in the slippery slope.
Yeah, see, that's not going to happen. I mean, all I want to do, I will commit to you here on air, all we want to do is prevent guns from getting into the wrong hands, convicted felons, the people who are already not allowed to have guns, that we all agree shouldn't have them, and make sure everyone who does choose to own a gun does it safely like you do, Mr. Hannity.
Well, it is a refreshing day if you could have a civil conversation about the Second Amendment.
We always do. We might as well do it on air.
We've done this many times. All right, thank you.